And we're back on the forum now, and joining us on segment 3 of the program is Blanton Coates, who is a project manager for Dean Builds, and Halee Cunningham, who is with the Bluegrass Community Foundation and the Clark County Community Foundation. What?
The administrator.
The administrator for the Clark County Community Foundation. How do you fit all that on a business card?
I know, it's a lot.
Okay. Well, what we want to bring attention to is something that unfortunately has come to the forefront, and what's getting ready to happen in Clark County is a very, very important event. It's called On the Table, and there are a couple of components to it. Halee Cunningham will lead off. You're going to have a thing in the schools. It's going to be at the high school. Right. So 5th grade through 12th grade. So Baker, as well as Campbell and GRC. Okay. And what this is dealing with school violence, unfortunately, and one of the questions that will be asked at the schools is, do you feel safe at school? Right. Things of that nature. And you're going to get responses from the kids on the 26th. Yes, that's correct. So a portion of the kids from each of the schools, around 350 total students, will answer, around 7 or 8 questions similar to that. Do you feel safe at school? How can you feel more safe at school? What can we do to help with that? And then we're going to kind of collect that feedback and review it with the public school system. I don't know that I mentioned this. The program is called On the Table. Right. And essentially what that is you're going to have people sitting around a table having discussions about this. Absolutely. It's really as easy as that. Groups of around 10 people each will sit at a table. We're going to bring in lunch. And they'll just kind of casually have a conversation that's led by these discussion prompts that we're going to provide. All right, let's get the microphone. We're not going to let Blanton off the hook here. Oh, come on. Your attendance for the event on the 26th is going to be a given. It's a captive audience. You're going to be dealing with students. Following that, there's one event I know you're going to be doing things on the 28th and 29th, Blanton, but on the 29th, there's a formal event at 5:30 in the afternoon at the Winchester Opera House. Correct. Where the adults in the community will gather on the table and have discussions basically about the responses from the students. Right. And first of all, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. We've wanted to try to garner a little momentum for this event. We feel like it's something that's important not only to our foundation, but it's important to the community in Winchester, and we're excited about that. So the idea came about from Fayette County's On the Table events that they did last year, and knowing that we needed to give the students a voice, together we came up with the school system to try to do that on Monday the 26th. And after thinking about that and wanting to bring the community involved with it as well, we thought, why not have an event the 28th, 29th to give the adults, if you will, and even for that matter, other students during those days. If you want to have your own table. Anybody that wants to attend can. That's what's great about this is we want a cross-section. Every socioeconomic class, every race, every religion. It doesn't matter who you are. We want to hear your voice. We want to give you a avenue, a conduit to be heard. And so our hope was that we could hear what the students had to say on that Monday. And then if we can garner that feedback to where at minimum give an introduction to the Thursday event, they would at least have an idea of, wow, I didn't realize my children were thinking this way. Or maybe I hear it every day in my house, the way my child is thinking, how scared they might be, or what their fears are. And so by putting that to the forefront for the adults, our hope is that we're going to garner even more feedback. And we have these discussions, which is great. What is the action that can take place after these? You can talk about it all day long, but there has to be an action plan. Something has to happen. And so the benefit of us doing this is the ability to utilize the Clark Community Foundation's endowment and upcoming giving for the next year, and hopefully steer that towards some of the feedback that we get from these on the table events. And our hope is to work with other groups, whether it's
BCTC, whether it's a nonprofit in Clark County, whether it's the Greater Clark Foundation and another foundation that might be involved with it with us. We want to hear everybody's voice and hopefully give the biggest impact we can back to Winchester.
Now, we said the 29th, and that's a set event. Again, it's at 5:30 at the Winchester Opera House. It'd be in the Grand Ballroom, I believe, which is up
yes,
on the...
sir. Yes, sir. The Opera House, Vanessa Zimbrowski has been very gracious as being a partner with us on this, along with the Chamber of Commerce.
And there will be refreshments.
There will be.
You always get a bigger crowd when they find out there were refreshments.
Well, and funny thing is we've found in the other on the table events that we've had is that you set some food in front of somebody, they're more willing to talk. They're more willing to have that conversation around the table, and everybody's equal on these tables. And that's what's so great is that you get an opportunity to give everybody a voice, and that's what we were trying to do.
All right, now you said something about the 28th. What's going on the 28th?
So our hope, we've reached out to a number of pastors, the Association of Pastors in Clark County. Our hope is that other churches might have an event, and these don't have to be dinners. They can be lunch. They can be breakfast with a group of friends. It might be coffee at D&S Hardware
right
down the street on Main Street. It may be just
as long as Kevin's not making it. If Lisa makes
right.
it.
Now, don't. Okay. I won't say that. Kevin will get mad at me if I say that. But yes, sir. And so the idea is for anybody to have an event. So on the table is occurring in Lexington on that 28th. But our goal was to utilize this week, utilize the marketing that's going a part of it, and then if you can have an event on Thursday, have an event. If you need the prompts and we know that you need it, we're going to get you the paperwork to do it. And then it all culminates onto the 29th. Event at Thursday at 5:30.
Now, yes, both on the 26th and the 29th, I know the setup is you're going to have facilitators at each table.
Yes, sir.
That will kind of keep the ball rolling, if you will.
Yes, sir.
And if things get stagnant, then the facilitator will have some ideas and things that they can toss out on the table. Is that right, Haley?
That's right. So we actually have what are called host toolkits for anyone that's going to host a table, whether it's at our event on Thursday night or if they want to host their own table with a couple of other couples and friends. And these host toolkits can be found online at www.bgcf.org/on-the-table. And there's actually just, the facilitated questions are in there, as well as some do's and don'ts, common questions and answers and pitfalls that might happen in conversations, and just some guides to anyone that wants to host a table to give them some feedback on how to do that.
Blanton, you and I talked on the phone the other day. My dad, or your dad and I would be around the same ilk, and I was telling Haley before we started doing this, when I was in school, the max school violence was the occasional fight in the locker room after
right.
gym class,
Yes, sir.
Now, today's a little different, and this is a very, very important issue, sadly.
We think it is, and the sad thing about this is that this started way back in late last year when the two young ladies were shot and killed there in town. We wanted to come to the Clark County school system and say, our group is a convener. We like to bring people, excuse the pun, to the table, right, and give some options of how we can help. We wanted to do something to help. The sad part about it is that as we began planning these things, Marshall County happened. And then as we continued to plan, unfortunately, Parkland happened.
Right.
Which it's easy to say, yes, we're glad that we're having these events. It's so sad that we have to have them, right? I mean, that's really the unfortunate thing. But it also brought reality to the forefront. Yeah. What a better way to give students a voice, to give the adults in our community a voice, and hopefully take some action from it. And that's really the big goal for it.
Okay, well, listen, we're going to have to wrap things up, but we certainly wish you the best. Again, you're going to be in the schools on the 26th, and that's kind of a captive deal. But if anybody out there wants to participate, you're more than welcome. On the 29th, it's going to be at the Opera House. Starts at 5:30 in the afternoon, and again, refreshments will be served.
Yes, sir.
And it's unfortunately an important issue in our communities.
Well, the great part about the Monday event is that the students are going to get a voice. They're going to be a sampling of a number of kids chosen by the school system, and then on the Wednesday and Thursday, anybody can talk. So we appreciate your time. Thank you for having us.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Halee Cunningham with the Bluegrass Community Foundation, and Blanton Coates with the project manager for Dean Builds, and you're also on the board of
the board of the Clark Community Foundation and the board of the Bluegrass Community Foundation.
All right, we appreciate you all taking the time to talk to us, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Now, that's going to do it for this week's edition of Winchester Clark County Forum.